Do all twin flames separate? This is another one of your most frequently asked questions, and we're going to talk about this in this video. If you've been watching my videos, then you know that I differentiate between different kind of divine counterparts, twin flames being one or actually two types of divine counterparts. We do have the more common split twin flames. This kind of soul connections comes for the awakening journey, and we do have the runner and chaser and all of that dynamic. It's for healing, it's for ascension, it's the common type, and then there's the rare type that can only meet after shadow work has been done. So a monadic twin flames, they come more for ascension because awakening already happened to some degree and the healing already happened. So a monadic twin flame usually would have gone through, at least the divine feminine would have gone through the split twin flame relationship most likely, or she would have had some other major thing that triggered her into already being awakened and already having done like 90-something% of the shadow work. They're not as complicated. So if there's still shadows going on, it's a karmic connection or a catalyst connection or a twin flame connection. But there's another kind of soul connections. They're called soul twins. And now we want to talk about this separation. While soul twin connections are very similar in some regards to twin flame connections, they can easily be confused because you have this sudden soul recognition. If it's a very, very close kind of soul connection, and you probably, if you meet a soul twin, and we can have several of them, a soul twin can also be your best friend or a family member, and they can be romantic partners as well. You may have a couple, like 10, but maybe like 2-3 soul twins, a couple of them in your life. If you meet a romantic soul twin for the first time, and for some of you that may be the closest kind of soul connections you have, because it is one of the closest ones that we can experience, there is sudden soul recognition. You trust them from day one. You feel very attached to them from day one. There is this feeling of knowing each other. There is this sense of familiar. That's a tough word. There is this sense of familiarity. Did I say that right? Like they seem familiar to you. Let's put it that way. Sorry, English is not my native language. So they feel very familiar to you because they have a very similar frequency than you have, and all of that, of course, already sounds pretty much twin flamey, right? What's different is that usually those are one of the most harmonious connections you can have. Of course, they can be triggering. I had a soul twin. I met one. Well, I have two more. One of my brothers and one of my friends. But the romantic one, I met him when I was 19. And he triggered basically my awakening journey and preparing me for my divine counterpart. He was a catalyst for me. For some people, that's end goal. That's the person, your forever person. For me, that was not in my soul plan. For me, in my soul blueprint, he came to, as a catalyst to trigger me and push me onto this spiritual journey and learning more about twin flames. And when I met him around that time, I started learning tarot, and I started meditating to find answers because of him. So then I'm sitting here. Maybe it's not all because of him. I probably always would have done that, but maybe I would have started years later. So he helped me really to put me on this journey. So you have this, you feel safe with them, you feel very secure with them, and very, very harmonious connection. For me back then, I still had some fear of abandonment, and also for me, as I said, he was a catalyst. He was never meant to be my forever person. That was not in my soul's blueprint. But usually this type, let's go back. If you have some fear of abandonment, there can be some withdrawing going on and some ghosting, not forever ghosting, not like in big fights, but the other person like withdrawing or not showing you how amazing you are, because they may show you that there is some unhealed stuff. After all, it is one form of divine counterparts. But usually if those shadows never played a big role because you didn't have this difficult childhood stuff, and you never had like deep trauma or something like that, and then you meet a soul twin, you have this instant recognition, this instant bond, and you feel at home with them, you feel like they are your home, and it's extremely harmonious. And those are the kind of twin flames that usually get together and stay together. They don't have all of these big issues, either because you never had those big issues to begin with, or you already healed them in previous, for example, like karmic connections, and they come as your reward, and you already healed the fear of abandonment, so they don't have to trigger that. Or they are just a preparation, but usually they come together, they stay together, they have also often like a vibe of being best friends, and often, even though they may be lovers, like a sibling kind of connection as well. So it's pretty, not complex, but it's one of the most harmonious connections one could have, to be honest. So these are the kind of, as I said, the twin flames that meet and they come together right away. And if it's in their soul plan, it's for them. They will grow old, because usually when they get together, they don't separate. The only reason why they would separate is that after a while they notice, like, we're best friends, we're like siblings, but we're not. There's, they run out of that passion. That can happen because it is so extremely, extremely, extremely harmonious. And then they feel like, okay, you're like my best friend, we've been living together for like 20 years, but I'm missing like this sense, like this passion. And then they would separate as best friends, you could say, because they notice, we still love each other, but we want to look for another spouse. That is something that can rarely happen. Usually it's endgame when they meet. And since they often can get confused with twin flames, yes, there are those people who call themselves twin flames, no harm done, and they say, oh, we met and we stayed together from day one. And that is those people, those lucky people. But when we talk, and again, those kind of soul connection would be a soul twin, not a twin soul or twin flame, but a soul twin. Because a twin soul is basically a soul twin can be your perfect match as well. But a twin flame can either be, if it's a split twin flame, your opposite. You have sameness and opposite. You share the oversoul, and then it's split into two separate souls. Not half souls. Half souls don't exist. I always say it's like biological twins. If they are identical, then there was one fertilized egg, one mass of cells that then split into two embryos, but they're not half people. I mean, you've probably seen twins, right? They're not half people. They're not missing like one arm, one leg, and the other one has that. They're two separate people that have a special bond, and that's what a split twin flame would be. You have this very special bond. Telepathy can play a role. And then monadic twin flames would be more like Siamese twins, you could say. Different kind of soul connection. Monadic twin flames, there can be a separation if there is still, not so much because of the healing, also because maybe there are some traces of healing that needs to be done, but the separation here is not because the fear of abandonment needs to get triggered, because in this specific soul connection you already have dealt with that. It is to focus on the ascension journey, because monadic twin flames, they mostly meet a very, very rare soul connection to ascend really high. Those are souls that say, okay, we want to come down to this earth and we want to experience this rapid soul ascension. Split twin flames, here we typically have the separation phase. Split twin flames, I already said it, is the most common kind of twin flame connection out of those two. Soul twins are more common. Soulmates are the most common. You have many soulmates, like most of your family members would be your soulmates, your peer group would be your soulmates, most partners in your life that you had an intense connection with would be a soulmate. A soulmate can be your best friends, but also your biggest enemies, because a soulmate is another soul that you agreed to meet on this earth to have some kind of lesson. They can be like friends or enemies as well, because we need enemies to develop. So that could be soulmates, most common type. And then we do have the soul twins. The split twin flames, there is the separation, because that's what they meet. If you have a split twin flame, you usually had some kind of trauma, because when you had a difficult childhood, that is also something that is helping you ascend. Like a trampoline, the deeper you jump into that cloth, the higher you go. So souls that chose to go on some kind of ascension journey usually choose a more difficult beginning in their life, because we need contrast. You probably heard Abraham Hicks talk about contrast. You probably heard Neil Donald Walsh in Conversations with God, amazing book, I can only recommend it, talk about that. We need to have contrast in order to develop who we are. In a split twin flame connection, it is very common that one person has the more anxious attachment style, or one has the more avoidant attachment style, like the fear of abandonment and the fear of letting people too close. And then they meet, and then they feel this instant bond, both of them. And that's another reason, another sign for a twin flame. Both feel that bond. If it's one-sided, it would be catalyst, not a twin flame. So they feel this intense bond, and then they have to separate, because if there's fear of abandonment, the person has to get close, and then the souls decide, okay, now we got close, and now it's time to do the work. And then the person who has the fear of getting close feels like, oh my God, never in my life have I felt this connection that is so intense. I can get really hurt here. You know, that person in the past hurt me. This connection is even more intense. I could get hurt even more here. I have to go. And the other person is like, oh my God, I never felt this connection this intense. I'm so scared that they might go. They're triggering my fear of abandonment. And then, you know, you step out of your center and into the distorted feminine energy, which is the fear of abandonment, and distorted masculine energy, which is the fear of letting someone too close. And then the separation phase is so important, because this is the time when we do the work. We get, if it's not a karmic connection. In a karmic connection, you would stay in the cycle for a long, long time and nothing is happening. In a twin flame connection, sooner or later, your soul will push you through this process, and you feel this inner guidance of doing the work, of doing the research, of doing the shadow work, working with your inner child, learning more about yourself, meditating, whatever it is. You just feel this strong pull to do that, because it's part of the twin flame template. But we need to do this separately. We cannot get distracted by the other person. Always say, if you have a fear of abandonment, it does not get healed when they sit on a couch right next to you. They have to go so you can feel it, because only then you can heal it. Because if you have it and they sit on a couch next to you, you still have it. It's just not, it's oppressed, but your soul wants to get rid of it. So it needs to come to the surface by getting triggered, and then it can get healed. So the separation phase, it's nothing that is uncommon. It is typical for split twin flames. It's a major part of the split twin journey, because this is the part where the healing happens. So they're not doing the runner. They don't do anything to you. It's not their fault. It's two souls that have issues, and they attracted each other to deal with them separately. And once you have done the work and you get into the center, you pull them into the center again, and that is where union happens once you stay here. I mean, you probably had it sometimes when you have this running, chasing dynamic, that you step in and you relax. You're like, okay, I cannot do anything right now, I'll focus on myself, and then they come back. And then if you have really healed that, then they can stay. Otherwise, it's, you know, a cycle that they come back, and then it gets intense again, and then the fears come back up, and then you go, you know, like magnets that are drawn to each other, and then when you turn them around, they repel each other. So this can happen multiple times, you know, as long as you need. For some, it's one big separation and union. For one, it's one big separation and then a couple of smaller ones, because major work has been done. And for some, it's like this on off, on off, on off, on off, and that will take as long as you, the one who's watching this, needs to step in your center to heal the fear of abandonment and the lack of self-love, and your assumptions about yourself, about love in general, about the other person in general, about relationship in general, and the other sex or your preferred sex, because of course that can happen to homosexual couples as well. The masculine energy can be incarnated in the female body or in the woman's body, and the feminine energy can be incarnated in a male's body, so that can happen as well. But the separation is vital. It's vital, and the feminine energy determines how long it takes. We always think like, yeah, but they have to come back, so it's up to them when they come back. But it's not true, because it's the job of the feminine to step into the center, because she is more feeling the pain of the loss. And so she's getting more triggered because this person is more oppressing their stuff. The oppressing person is not rolling up their sleeves in order to do the work. It's the one who steps into the pain, who is called to do the work. And so they get into the center, but since you're connected, you pull them in. You cannot, if you're here in the pain energy, you cannot pull them in over here. It's not possible. You have to meet in the center. So it's up to you how long you take. If you stay over there and you wait for them to come and save you, it's not going to happen. So the separation can end as soon as you stop waiting for them, as soon as you stop longing for them or being in pain. You roll up your sleeve and you do the work. And then you have to attract union. If it's a true twin flame, you will always feel this bond, so you won't stop trusting in this connection. You may have a couple of days where you fall out of trust, but in a true twin flame connection, you will have the faith in that, and that is why you will attract union. So if it helped you, please help me by liking, subscribing, hitting the bell icon. Please check out my playlist. I always bundle up information for you. If you need more help, I am available for personal coaching. Make sure you click on the videos that come right now, and I do see you in a personal coaching or in another video, and I wish you all the best now. Bye bye.